Good morning. This is Marv Baldwin with the Butterfly PAC, and we're glad you're joining us today for this podcast. I've got the honor to be speaking with AJ Wagner this morning. AJ is one of the co-founders of the Butterfly PAC, and is really his initial idea and vision to get something like this started. AJ, welcome. Glad to have you here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marv.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for spending a little time with us.
Oh,
Hey,
my pleasure.
yeah, AJ, let's just jump right into it. I mean, I know you've got a lot of hopes and dreams for the Butterfly PAC as you kind of consider both near term and longer term hopes and dreams, and what does this look like when it's successful, and how do we sort of know when we're starting to get to where we want to go? What kinds of things are you imagining or seeing for the future of the Butterfly PAC? What are your hopes for this project, for this effort?
I probably have to go back to when I started dreaming of Butterfly PAC. And I very idealistically, and these are idealisms, it was my hope that the Butterfly PAC would become kind of the premier agency for arguing with the government,
Yeah.
presenting to the government, lobbying the government to end hunger and poverty. But it came with several elements that I thought would be helpful to make that pitch to our legislators. One is, if you go to legislators with money, you generally get what you want, if it's enough money.
Mm-hmm.
And so it started with that. It started with the belief that legislators generally run toward the money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a very idealistic thing. That's a very practical thing. And it's a very true thing. I spent 22 years in elected office, and I've witnessed some unbelievable changes of heart when donations came in. And,
Yeah.
so, in fact, when I was on the Ohio State School Board, I used to speak to different groups of superintendents and principals, and they would often ask, so how do we get what we need, what we want? And I would usually answer very practically, well, can you raise $1 million or $2 million? Because you can get what you want, but you've got to put money behind it.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so when I dreamt up Butterfly PAC, it was strictly taking that my own advice and saying, well, how do we help the poor? Well, I guess we need to raise $1 million or $2 million. We need to figure out how to tap into legislators in a more practical way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it was just strictly a money thing. So that was one thing, but other things that help, that would assist, I think, because you'd still want to get the electorate behind you if possible. So there's the issue of education, of developing a language or languages that speak to people, that make them put poverty on an even keel with inflation or the economy or employment. Those key issues that bother them and that impact their lives, and communicate in some way to the electorate that and to legislators that this is just as important as all that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And to
Yes.
make them feel it. But
Mm-hmm.
that would take an amount of research and testing and marketing and et cetera. And others have tried it, so I'm not sure whether we could be any better than anybody else. But but it is that that is one part of what I would like to achieve with Butterfly Pack, or would like to have achieved. So there's the legislators, there's that. And then the third thing is kind of, we have the Alliance to End Hunger and some other groups, but we still, I'd like to see more coordination in terms of all of the hunger and poverty organizations in terms of their approach to the legislature. And that means kind of meeting and organizing and working together, such as the Alliance does really already. But I'd like to be a part of that with Butterfly Pack, if not lead that. So those are like my main dreams of what we could do if we had enough money and if we had enough resources.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, as we developed, and we've only been around for what, a year and a half, 2 years, almost 2 years now. That money, those large sums of money weren't forthcoming.
Right. Yeah.
That takes relationship development and some fundraising skills that we didn't have, partly because we needed to learn better fundraising skills, but partly because of COVID. I mean, we just couldn't go visit people or do anything.
Right.
And,
Yeah, that's kept a lot of us sort of from getting out there as much as we had hoped or dreamed we might. Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly. So we raised money, much of it from our own board. We raised money, and I've certainly pushed all my friends and family and keep asking, and they've come through, and with that money that we've raised, we were able to put together a small campaign for a couple of Congress folks and senators in the last cycle, and we thought the campaigns were fairly good. We had a very good media person, unfortunately Kendall, who unfortunately she was really good, and she went on to some place where she can make a lot more money with her talents, deserved to. And so we've lost that. And I myself was floundering with where do we go when Ponkage came along. And Ponkage had this idea that if we gave, which he was already doing personally, if you gave small contributions to Congress people, you would at least get to talk to them. And it proved to be true. With $500 maybe to a congressperson, you'd get a phone number to their chief of staff or to their legislative aide. You'd get direct contact to their offices, which has an impact on whether or not they'll support certain legislation. And it's not that they wouldn't have anyway, but they never, either A, they never hear about it, or B, it just never rises to a level of interest for them because they've got so much on their plates.
Right.
And the thing is, when you give them $500 and you get to the top of their administrative staff or to them directly, then they respond to you directly. And they generally try to respond by giving you what you'd like. And we've found that a significant percentage, for instance, we recently worked on a project where the 2023 budget's coming up, and we need some funding we need a few $1 billion for hunger and
Right.
poverty.
Right.
And we some legislation's been drafted and sponsored, but we need sign-on letters. The more sign-on letters you get, the more likely it's going to get in front of a committee. The more likely it's in front of a committee, the more likely you've got to get it to the floor, et cetera. So the first step is let's get sign-on letters to get it in front of a committee. And so we asked Congress people for the sign-on letters. And again, we called the Congress people, or we contacted directly the legislative chief or the chief of staff or the congressperson themselves,
Hmm.
depending on what they've noted they prefer. And we asked for those letters, and we were on a deadline, and there was something like 80% response. It
Wow.
was, yeah. And
Wow.
so I just that donation gets you from being from your letter or your request going from the bottom of the pile to the top of the pile. And it's kind of sad in some ways, but it is the way it is. Them's the rules they're played by. And it is, as a practical matter, a way to advocate for the poor and the hungry, just like the rich do. I mean, really, the idea of having a super PAC was to say, what happens if you give the poor the ability to lobby Congress as effectively and as much as the rich and the well-off do?
Mm.
So
Amen.
how do we put the poor in that same position?
Amen.
So, I mean, that was the idea behind
Hmm.
Butterfly PAC. Did I answer your question?
Oh my gosh. Yes, and then some, my friend. Thank you. No,
Okay.
this is wonderful. And you're sharing a beautiful vision about giving the poor, those that suffer, those that are marginalized, those that don't have a voice, a chance to speak and a chance to speak their truth and share their story, and providing that opportunity, um, sadly, but practically through money, through getting some access, and that's the world we live in, isn't it?
Yes, it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And but uh, as I always say, them's the rules, so we're going to play by them.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Well, let me kind of shift a little bit. You've been in your first answer, you talked a bit about some of the things that you're doing. Um, and so I guess my second question is really about kind of your role, and you've sort of addressed that some already, but tell us a little bit about kind of, as a founder of this organization, and then I'm sure it's kind of been, a little bit of everything that you've been doing, but maybe talk to us a little bit about what you really are enjoying, or what you really feel like, what experiences and skills you brought to the table that really have been able to make a difference in your work thus far. And then as you look into the future, what what kinds of what kinds of things are you hoping to be able to contribute to the effort as we go forward?
Yeah, I've been lucky. I spent like I think I said 22 years in elected office. 10 of those were as a judge. And but it does give you a certain amount of understanding and leadership skills that this is how you do things. Now I want to tell you, I couldn't have done all of this though, or any of this without the wise counsel of guys like Nick Arena and Nick Shotsky and Pankaj Agarwal. They've been very, very helpful. We also had the guidance of Tony Hall, Ambassador Tony Hall, uh, and like Catherine Miller and Alex Counts was invaluable at the beginning. People whose names you might not recognize, but who are extremely skilled at putting organizations together. And their advice and counsel has been very, very helpful. But the bottom line when we came down to it was I was the only one that was retired, and so I needed to do the bulk of the
Sure.
day-to-day work. And so when it came, we talked and by the way, I had a heart attack in the middle of all that. And then by the time I came back to it, I just decided, but somebody's just got to do it.
Yes.
So I contacted.
Hey, wait a second. We got to put a pin in that. After your heart attack and you came back from that, what did you say?
Then I just realized somebody's got to do this.
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's
got to do it. Right on. Right on, brother. Right on.
So, so I contacted a lawyer and got the incorporation going, and I contacted a web development company to get our website up and running. I looked into how we do the FEC registration and filings, and I looked into how we do the donations and collect the donations and make that work. I looked into a mailing service. It's called Mailer Lite, but it's like was it Survey Monkey or something. I most of them, by the way, I chose because of their expense. Like there wasn't any,
right?
Or it was minimal.
Yeah, right.
But it allowed me to kind of figure out the whole operation and how we could get it up and going and be effective from the start. When it came time to start it, we wanted to be properly incorporated, properly registered with the FEC. And we wanted a website because that would be an effective means of communication no matter where you were. And that would be an effective way to take in donations. But we wanted a good website. So we put in some money to get it started. And we made it happen. And that's what got it going. In the meantime, let me point this out. Some people love the idea of working with Congress and talking to the Congress people and or to their staffs and applying some kind of influence on them, which is all good, because if you're doing it for the poor, it's all good. And but none of it happens. Absolutely none of it happens if we don't raise money. And sometimes that gets lost in the excitement of what we're trying to do. We've got to continually focus and refocus on the need to raise money, because without it, nothing gets done. It doesn't exist. It doesn't happen.
Yes.
So I kind of want to just throw that in there because I think it's an important element in the whole thing.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yes.
So I don't know. Did I answer your question?
I think you did. Yeah. Well, let me add a little bit of an add-on to that last question, just to kind of give us a sense. So as you think about all the different things that you've done over the years to get ready to launch the Butterfly PAC and actually launch it, and then all the work you've done both behind the scenes and out in front and in leadership, is there a particular thing or a particular part of the work that you find the most joy in?
Oh, um, I'd have to say when we were getting responses from Congress people,
Hmm.
I really, that was very rewarding and very, yeah.
Hmm. Good to hear. Good to
We
hear.
felt, I
Yeah.
felt like we were finally being productive.
We did it. Yeah, we
Yeah,
did it. Somebody
yeah,
heard us. Yeah, amen.
exactly,
Amen. Good
exactly.
job. Yeah,
And
thank you. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Well, I have one other question for you. If you're up for a couple more minutes of sharing with us here
let's
today.
do it. Let's do it.
Terrific. So the last question is really why this? As you know, as you look at you look at the trajectory and the path of your life, and boy, there are a lot of things that you and I could be spending our time on. And I wonder if you might give us a sense of why spend your time on issues of hunger and poverty? Why spend your time on serving people that are poor or marginalized or maybe don't have a voice? What's drawing you to do that?
I've thought about that question a lot, and I don't know that I come up with a decent answer other than to say, well, let me do the confusing route. I grew up in poverty,
Hmm.
and I have great stories about being in third grade and standing in bread lines. That was back before they had food stamps.
Yeah.
And um, and so I understand I've lived that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I don't know how much I understand it anymore because I'm very privileged and I've gone far. But I would never, never have been a college graduate. I would never have been a lawyer. I would never have been a judge. I would never have had the life I had if it weren't for other people who were willing to invest in me, who were
Hmm.
willing to invest in my nutrition when I was growing up, who were willing to invest in my education, who were willing to invest in my uh, loans and help me out with them. I it just none of that would have happened without a lot of help. And so one big reason I think I do this is because I owe it.
Yeah.
There's a payback here.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing I think that's probably also important to me is just gospel values. Uh, as a practicing Catholic, I find that the church's preferential option for the poor means something to me, and I agree with their social justice agenda
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, and especially though that part where they we need to put the poor first. And I'm with that. I really like that. I genuinely believe that if we did, we'd all be so much better off, all of us. And so it's not just for them that I would do it. I mean, I don't do this as a, I don't know, I guess I wouldn't say I do this as a charity project to the poor. I do this as something that it's going to help my kids and my grandkids down the road. It's there are some very selfish reasons for doing it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Amen. I think you're in a few sentences here at the end, and in many ways you're sharing the biblical message, right? The gospel message. So thank you also for that, and to have some practical experience and understand poverty close up. I think also certainly. Wow, thanks for sharing all this with us, AJ. This has been really a wonderful time, and just very enlightening and very encouraging as well. Let me give you just a few minutes. If is there anything else you'd like to add or share, something that you think, oh, I should have mentioned this or said that? I'd love to give you a few minutes here to do just that.
Let me add that I've recently been diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. And the doctors don't give me a good prognosis, but they also can't tell you when or how long you have to live, or how long I may be here for a while, and I may not, But what a way to go out if I can continue to help Butterfly PAC and Compassion PAC and whatever way possible to continue to grow it and to continue to make sure it moves forward and it does all the things that it needs to do. I'd be very happy for that. I'm convinced that at death, you leave your body and you leave all your senses behind, but you also leave behind the good works and the love that you've put onto the earth. And that's what's joined with God and what we might call heaven. And I think that it would be a blessing to me to be able to continue to work directly with you, Marv, and with the board, and continue to try and grow this thing.
Well, my friend, I really am grateful for you. I'm grateful for your vision and your launching of this whole thing, and I'm so grateful how you've wrapped up this time together today. And again, thank you for all you've done and continue to do, and your friendship as well.
Yeah.
Many blessings and prayers with you as you continue on here.
Same to you and your family, Marv, and really, you have blessed me. You've really given me hope that this will continue to go on, and we and that's a huge gift to me. So thank you.
Thank you, AJ. And I think just to wrap things up today, folks, if you're listening in and you're hearing AJ's call to join us in some way, we'd love to hear from you. Obviously, there's a lot of ways you can get involved. Please visit our website and let us know how you'd like to join us in our efforts. Thanks again, AJ. Talk to you soon.
All right. Love you. Bye-bye.
Love you too. Bye.